Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Secrets of a Witch podcast with me, Sabrina Scott, where I talk all about life, love, spirituality, divination, witchcraft, magic, what else? Healing, good vibes, trauma, and everything in between. I hope you guys are having a wonderful long weekend if you're here with me in Toronto. I'm not too sure if it's a long weekend anywhere else, but for me, it is basically Sunday number 2. So whatever you're doing, I hope you guys are having a great time. So before I launch into today's topic, one thing I just wanted to do was address some questions I'm getting about my new book, Bodymagic, which has been, I think I finished painting it sometime late last year, sometime in the fall. I think the fall or the late summer. I can't remember now. And it's been with the printer for months now, and I am still waiting. And so I will update you guys on the Kickstarter whenever I do get an update from the printer. The latest is that the whole thing is printed as far as I can ascertain, and if my lovely printer is to be believed. And I think it is with the bookbinding people right now, because it does have to be perfect bound. The first edition of Witch Body back in the day was also done by this printer who is in Chicago. And since Witch Body was way less pages, we actually could staple it. And this one is way more pages than that. And so it needs this type of bookbinding called perfect binding, which is not always something that printers themselves are able to do or specialize in, which makes sense. Not everyone can do everything. I don't fucking want to learn how to do risograph printing, and so that's why I've sent it off. So that's kind of the short update. It is still with the printer and likely with the bookbinder, and so who knows? I think my printer is on vacay. I got an email from him a little while ago. So whatever, I'll get it when I get it. I'm not super worried about it. It'll happen when it is meant to happen. There is an astrological date I have in mind that I would like to have everything in my hands by at the latest, because that is when I'm planning to bless the books in a ritual like I did with Witch Body. So we will see. Fingers crossed that all goes according to plan. I don't really see any reason why it wouldn't. But for everyone who has been wondering, where the hell is this new book? You've been talking about it for like a year. Well, it's coming. And right now it's out of my hands, and I'll keep you guys posted as soon as something changes. But I'm really, really excited that you guys are all as excited as I am about it. And I would be lying if I didn't admit that I'm also like a little bit scared. Like, I hope everyone likes it. Like, I think it's better than Witch Body, in my opinion. Obviously, I guess I do love Witch Body. It's like of a time, and I think it is many people's favorite book of mine. But I guess now that I'm like, I don't know, almost 10 years older, like I don't know, I always like the work that I do most recently the most. Usually, I don't know if other artists are like that or not, but I'm just really excited. Some new things about Bodymagic. It has chapters, which Witch Body did not have. And it's way longer. It's like 3 times as long as Witch Body was. So if you guys are new, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Witch Body was my first book, which was a graphic novel more or less about witchcraft and magic in an urban environment. And what does it mean to be a witch in the city? Specifically Toronto, but really any city, any built environment, because a lot of the time people associate witchcraft and pagan spirituality with living in the sticks or the middle of nowhere, and see it as a bit of an, like, I don't know, incompatibility that anyone would be interested in practicing magic in an urban context. And so Witch Body was my manifesto basically for witchcraft as a form of environmental connection and environmental ethics, philosophy, all of that. And it's a lot more philosophical than my new book, Bodymagic, is. So Bodymagic will be my first graphic novel since Witch Body. I have 2 other books out, a poetry book which is my third book, Rapeseed, and then a Witchy 101, which has also been called a Witchy 201, which is my second book, and that was actually originally signed to Penguin, and yes, that Penguin, and I bought my rights back to the books. I really was not having a great experience, and so I was like, fuck this, and decided to self-pub that one back in 2022. And Rapeseed came out last November, and so Bodymagic will be my fourth book, but my second graphic novel. And for anyone who is new here or doesn't really remember what Bodymagic is going to be about, it is kind of a memoir, and it's kind of a book that is about witchcraft as a methodology of healing trauma, but it's also about how trauma can be a bit of a fast track to having really solid magical skills. So it's a bit of an interesting book. It's pretty complex, I would say, the different types of theories and ideas that I'm working with, that I am interspersing with my own experience and my own life. And it is definitely the most intimate book that I will have released so far, even though that might be surprising since Witchbody is pretty intimate and so is Rapeseed, my poetry book. And anyway, whatever, it's coming this year. It's going to be sweet. It's a little bit slower, but that's okay. I trust that the astrology, the everything, life, it will all just kind of be aligned, and I'll get the books from Chicago when they need to happen. And I really am not too sure how the tariffs are going to influence everything. No idea. Someone emailed me a few days ago, and apparently Canada Post is also going on strike, which I did not anticipate. Like, I feel like next time I make a Kickstarter, I'm going to have to put in the, I don't know, like the warning category, like, oh yeah, I don't know, maybe there's going to be tariffs, or maybe there's going to be a strike in the postal service. I did not anticipate either of those things impacting this project. I think they probably will impact this project, but whatevs, we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it will be fine. And I really am not one of those people that believes in, I don't know, doom and gloom about anything. Like, it is what it is. Let it be what it is. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. Like, I really do trust that. Okay, so now that I've babbled about that for long enough, I wanted to get into a different topic today, which has not really that much to do with that. And so this is a little bit of a criticism on witchy land lately, which I am a little bit disconnected from by choice, which is fine. But one thing I just wanted to put out there is that witchy land and witchcraft, like, it is about so much more than full moons and new moons. And don't get me wrong, I love a full moon, I love a new moon, I work with them a lot in my own practice. I do love these kind of big moons as ways of marking time, ways of understanding cycles, ways of working with cycles, ways of noticing the rhythms of life more than I might otherwise notice them. So we do have these lovely moons as these markers, these benchmarks in a way, these big shining lights, or in the case of a new moon, like a total darkness, that invite us to reflect on different aspects of our life, different aspects of our experience, and they invite us to step into different aspects of ourselves, depending on what kind of new or full moon it is, what sign it's in, etc., what else is going on astrologically, blah, blah, blah. You guys know what I mean. But I do have a bit of a critique of a lot of witchy content creators, and I have felt myself a little bit uninspired as of lately in terms of witchy content, because I've been doing this social media thing for a really long time. Some of you guys have been around my land for like 10 years, which sounds insane, but it's true, if not longer. I think some of you guys have been around for like 15 years, which is even crazier. So thank you, anyone who's been here for that long, tolerating my nonsense. But it gets really fucking boring after a while just making content about this full moon and that new moon and yada yada. Like, it ends up getting incredibly repetitive, and as a creator, it ends up getting really fucking boring. And I don't know how a lot of witchy accounts just keep pumping out this content. And it's like, if you understand one full moon, then you probably will be able to understand them all. Like, it's really not that hard. It's not that complicated. Even if there is other astrological stuff going on around that time, it's really not that complex. And so I feel in some way that a lot of the witchy content conversations around, which is constantly rooting around the moons and the holidays and the this and the that, it does get like a bit snoozeville. And that is not all that witchcraft is about. That is not what spirituality ultimately is about. I think rhythm is incredibly important. I'm reading a book on trauma right now, as one does. It is the one that is co-written by Oprah, and I think Bruce Perry is the guy's name. I don't have it within grabbing distance, but the book is called What Happened to You, and I'm about halfway through, and one of the things they talk about in the book is how rhythm is really important for healing, and I agree with that in a really big way, and I'm probably going to end up citing that in my PhD, which talks about witchcraft and trauma healing, as I think that witchcraft can help us heal from trauma. And so I do think the rhythm of the seasonal cycles, the moon phases, the emphasis on rhythm within witchcraft is incredibly powerful and important. But at some point, I think if you have a practice that is meaningful and deep, at some point this particular type of rhythm becomes banal. It becomes boring, which isn't to say that spirituality or witchcraft even always needs to be like a big explosion from the sky, like wham pow, like crazy shit is happening. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. And honestly, healing from trauma can make your life a little bit boring, which I think can be just fine. And I don't think that we always need to chase excitement. I think refusing to chase excitement can actually be a sign of a healing brain. But anyway, that's a ramble for another time. But the TLDR on that is within, for instance, the 12 steps of ACA, the 12-step program for basically anyone who's been in an abusive or dysfunctional family. They have this thing called the laundry list. Highly recommend checking that out if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And one of those things on that laundry list, like the list of shit that is fucked up about you basically, is an addiction to excitement. And I was in ACA for a few years, like maybe a decade ago, and it was very foundational to my own healing journey. But all that to say, to like relate it back to what we're talking about here, there is this balance that I think is so crucial for healing and also deep spirituality, where we are not addicted to this like constant drama, which you do see a lot of this attention-seeking, drama-chasing behavior in witchcraft communities. So many witchy people are coming for each other. They're calling each other out over stupid shit. Like, it's just so fucking dramatic and boring, and I just refuse to participate in any of that, as you guys probably have noticed. And then, so there's that. That's a criticism I would have around the space. But there's also, again, that emphasis on moons and holidays, otherwise known as Sabbats. And again, I love the rhythm of it. I think it's beautiful. I think there's ways to create your own rhythm that I think is lovely. And I do think that if you're having trouble, if you're feeling unmoored, ungrounded, working with these rhythms of the moons can be this way to kind of ground yourself and anchor yourself a little bit. I think that's huge. At the same time, eventually our practice does need to evolve a bit. We need to be able to move past this, new moon, full moon cycles into something that is a little bit more deep, a little bit more considered, a little bit more internally alchemy-ish. I was going to say alchemical. I don't even know if that's the right word, but something that involves our internal deep transformation. And sometimes like spell work and ritual work around these moons can help us with that, but it doesn't have to be grounded in the moon phases. And some of the most transformative work that I've done myself has not necessarily been anchored to any moon phase. It was often more I just hit a wall or got fed up with something, or I knew something needed to change. And so here we go. We're going to do what we need to do to make that happen. And sometimes it was that, like sometimes it was a big ritual or spell work or whatever, or a big desperate prayer in a time of need. But more often than not, the shifts were more subtle and happened more over time. And so, I don't know, it's tough. Like the moon phase thing, I'm cool with it. I think it's fine. But I do think that if you have an advanced practice, or if you want to have a deeper, more advanced, more spiritually meaningful practice, you do have to graduate from just moon phases as a way of anchoring what it is you're doing. And for many of my students and people I teach and work with, and also for myself, this grounding happens in a few different ways. It's going to be based on what's happening in our own life. And it can also be grounded and in and based on, to some extent, the spiritual beings that we're working with, whether that is the land, whether that is saints, or if you believe in gods or goddesses or any of that stuff. That relationship, those relationships, plural, can be the biggest anchor. And then, of course, there's that, your relationship to yourself, your own cycles. Of course, I talk about different types of cyclical spirituality and cyclical ways of relating to various things in my big master course, which is called Magic Without Bullshit. I know many of you listening to this have already purchased that course, so do go re-listen to that module if you need a refresher on any of this stuff, because grounding in the moon is not the only way to ground in natural rhythms and cycles. And if this is something you're interested in and you are interested in the course, I'm pretty sure that you can just buy it on my website. So do go check that out, sabrinamscott.com. If you can't find it, or if you would like to chat with me a little bit to see if this course is right for you, feel free to just, go on my website and type a little thing into the contact box, or pop me an email, ceo@sabrinamscott.com, and I'll reach out back to you as soon as I can, because honestly, there's so much more to magic and witchcraft than these little things that I see infographics about all over the internet in witchy land. And I think part of why it bugs me is that these external events can be really spiritually significant, obviously, but at the end of the day, I think witchcraft is most powerful when it's based on an internal locus of control and our own internal rhythms, rather than only the external rhythms, which would be the external locus of control. Obviously, the Earth's going to do what it's going to do. The planets are going to do what they're going to do. We can't change that. We can only work with it. We can only surf the waves of those energies. I think life tends to work a bit better when we surf the waves of the energies that exist rather than fighting against them. So that's an important thing to learn how to do. At the same time, I do think a lot of witchy people, especially newbies, and I unfortunately see this a lot in popular witchcraft accounts too, they place so much more emphasis on these external astronomical, astrological events than on internal alchemy and internal transformation and actual deep healing work. And I understand why. It's a harder sell. It's a little bit more obtuse, it's a little bit more nuanced, it's a little bit more complex, it works less easily on an infographic, so I kind of understand why people are doing this. At the same time, to me it is just very much bare bones, the basics. And our practice obviously can go a lot more deeper than just moon phases. I do talk about that a little bit in my Witchy 101, Curse and Cure Magic for Real Life, which you can grab on Amazon. If you can't find the link, just go on my website. It will be there under books. So I do talk a little bit about solar cycles, moon cycles, etc. in that book. Obviously, I talk about it more in my course, Magic Without Bullshit. And so wherever you're at in your practice, just think about what is it that grounds you? Where do you want to go? And honestly, I do think if your practice is just going to be about the moons and the Sabbats, you're probably not going to be able to go that deep unless you make some different choices and at least add on some kind of spiritual relationship to all these things. Of course, we can have spiritual relationships with the moon, the stars, all of that, but that isn't usually the way I see a lot of folks relate to the moon. And so that's a whole rant for another day. But maybe I'll just leave it there. If you are feeling stagnant in your practice with being a bit sick of this, okay, it's another new moon, okay, it's another full moon, what do I do? Okay, I'm gonna Google it or look on Instagram, and okay, it's this new moon and this full moon and that means I have to do blah blah blah. And if you're getting a little bit bored of that type of witchcraft practice, if you're finding it spiritually unfulfilling and a little bit boring, please reach out to me. I would love to help, whether through directing you to one of my courses that already exists or engaging in some kind of one-on-one mentorship experience. And I've been doing some spiritual mentorship now with lovely clients for, God, a year or two now, maybe 2 or 3 years actually. I can't fucking remember. But what I love about it is it's ongoing. And so I know a lot of folks often just want to do a one-off, like one and done. But what I find to be really moving the needle for folks is multiple sessions over the span of months. And it really helps folks get to the bottom of what is spiritually important for them. What does their unique spiritual practice look like? Because everyone's spiritual practice is a little bit different. It's not cookie cutter. And I think a lot of the witchy content out there and a lot of the like famous witches on Instagram or whatever, honestly, no disrespect to them, but a lot of folks are pushing out really cookie cutter content. And I think the reason why I've been excommunicated from a lot of witchy spaces is because I do challenge a lot of that stuff. Like, I don't believe that witchcraft is all about women. It isn't. I don't believe that witchcraft is inherently feminist. It isn't. I believe that people can be witches and Christian. I believe people can be witches and atheists. And I think that you can mix different forms of spirituality with your witchcraft in a way that is 100% unique to you. And I just see so many people feeling so confused or bored or just, I don't know, just like blocked or ashamed, or honestly, the boredom and the confusion is the most common stuff I see. But there is a way to untangle all of that. If you're bored of just the moon phase style of practice, we can go deeper than that. So if you're interested in chatting with me about that and getting some support from me around that aspect of your practice, feel free to reach out. And who knows, maybe you disagree with this episode. Maybe you love the moon phases and you feel 100% fulfilled by that in your practice. If that's the case, I'd still love to hear from you. Let me know. I think that's interesting. And I guess with that, I'll let you guys go and stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more episodes to come. I've got a bunch of ideas for things I would like to get into this summer. And I'd also love to hear from you. What topics would you like to hear me speak about? Even if it is something that is a little bit random, feel free to send the suggestion my way. I will definitely consider all suggestions. And I love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much for listening to this show. Honestly, it makes my day. Every time that I get a compliment about this show, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate each and every one of you who is listening to this show. And if you do enjoy it, do share it with a friend or two who is a little bit witchy, who you think would benefit from listening to some of the things I talk about, and share. And if you do like the show, please do give me a nice, happy 5-star rating. I have had some retaliatory 1-star ratings because people don't love that my politics are nuanced. And I don't just like regurgitate the party line of whatever the woke left folks have to say, or like whatever the cool lefty talking point is. I've always been a independent thinker. I've always been a bit of a contrarian. I've always been a bit of an iconoclastic person, honestly. I've always been a little bit of a heretic. And so if anyone is new here and is expecting just like the standard party line, you're not going to get that in my content or in this show or in the way that I teach. So if you are a fellow heretic, weirdo, independent thinker, critical person, someone who loves the complexity of the universe and is willing to question themselves and everyone around you and the world and how things are done, you are 100% in the right place. And I will chat with you guys later. If you want to find me online, I am at Instagram, Sabrina M. Scott. My YouTube is /Sabrina Scott. No M. I guess there's less Sabrinas over on YouTube. What else? My website is sabrinamscott.com, and you can send in a little form on there. You can also creep around and find my books and courses and all of that fun stuff over there. And I do have some spots for tarot readings this week and next week. I am able to take on a new coaching or mentorship client. So that's that. Talk to you guys soon, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Much love. Bye.